Welcome to the Steve Reeve Podcast with the best moments from the past week and a few things that didn't make it to air. Monday.
Cruz mornings, the voice is feeling okay for now, but at any point could just give out. At least that's what I learned over the weekend. Again, big thanks to Jordan. He was covering for me on Thursday and on Friday, just because I was just down for the count. Like, a sickness took hold of me very fast in the opposite way that it usually hits me. Like, if I know I'm going to get sick, it's usually because I feel it kind of in my head and in my joints. You know, kind of that nerve feeling where you're like, oh no, this is undeniable. I know what's happening. But it hit me the opposite way. It started with just like a little bit of a cough, and then suddenly coughing up too much stuff, and then all the other symptoms hit, and I was just done for. So big thanks. Big thank you for the coverage, and then over the weekend as well, able to rest. I was cussing and robitussin all weekend long. Annoyed by this thing. I think I've almost kicked it, though. Yes, we had a sad weekend. Said goodbye on Saturday to Mitchell's Cafe, an absolute institution, staple here in Fort McMurray, one that many know. And those who didn't, it was always a fun time to be in the lineup and to experience somebody's first time at Mitchell's. Because it's kind of a different thing and so delicious as well. You just know, you're just waiting for them to get that into their face. You know, whether they're going to stop out on the deck and have some in the sunshine or take it home, wherever. I just know you're going to enjoy that. But gone now. Why? Well, I mean, we do have some answers actually direct from the source, one of the owners and one of the faces of Mitchell's Cafe, Owen Erskine, Baba O, if I may. He sat down for a bit of a semi-exclusive interview here. Only a couple people were allowed to get involved, and it wasn't even me. It was actually a friend of mine who is behind a local media firm, Hexwave Media, Matt Salem, who sat down along with Representative Vince from the Fort McMurray today. So they both got to chat and get the answers. Now, there is an interview that is available now. We got the video posted up on the blog at cruzradio.com for you to watch. Less than 20 minutes, a touchstone, a little piece of history now forever preserved in video form for anybody who's curious or anybody who's feeling a little bit sad now after that final weekend. Go check it out. Here is just one of the quotes from that entire interview.
You know, when you're a place people go to when they go through something great or when they go through something utterly horrible, and you're a place that they want to go see, that's when you say, yeah, I did it. Whether you're making money or not, you know, when you can be a place like that for a community or for people, that's a good feeling.
Farewell, Mitchell's Cafe. Thanks for everything. New scary thing to worry about. It's yawning too hard. This is not a good situation. A woman is reportedly in the UK given herself a broken neck after yawning too hard. Just another sign that we're not any of us getting enough rest or sleep. But 36-year-old mom, yes, she said that she yawned. She saw her baby instinctively follow the yawn because they are oddly contagious like that. But then she said that something was immediately wrong and immediately amiss. And, of course, doctors' diagnosis leading to finding a fracture in the neck. I mean, that's just wild stuff. And I recently saw an article about how there's a death zone on your face where you shouldn't pop any pimples because the veins work differently. There's no backflow, and that could lead to an infection that could get right into your brain. And I'm like, okay, can we just... We're talking about popping zits, and we're talking about yawning. We don't need to scare people. These are very, very uncommon situations, okay? Also, get some rest. Take a nap.
You're listening to the Steve Reeve Podcast from 100.5 Cruz FM.
It's time for Cruz Music News with Steve Reeve.
Got a few stories for you, beginning with the final show of Oasis's UK Live 25 tour last night in Wembley, and one of the brothers Gallagher teasing that more is coming in 2026. Says, I want to thank you a lot for keeping the faith, putting this band back on the map. See you next year. So much for any of the pools, for people expecting them to implode before this tour even started. Bruce Springsteen showed up, of course, after a screening of the new biopic Deliver Me From Nowhere at the New York Film Festival to perform a song or two. Land of Hope and Dreams was one of the ones that he opened up with. Of course, it does help when the biopic is about an artist who is still with us and still touring and still able to play guitar. Kind of makes for those special moments for people in the audience. Speaking of special moments, Avril Lavigne celebrating a birthday just recently. She was at the Kia Forum in Inglewood, California, performing, and she actually brought out Billy Idol during the show. They have a single together, 77, so that is, of course, what they sang. But immediately afterwards, she also announced that she's launching her own wine as a special birthday celebration. Hopefully that, she wanted to celebrate. She had a bottle or two with her and her friends. That's it for the music news this morning. That fall knowledge that you need. I used to avoid getting pumpkins early because they just felt like they wouldn't last until Halloween. And then also the supply of them wouldn't last until Halloween to actually pick up from the store. So you find yourself the week of, you're like, what? I gotta find something to carve here. Find me a turnip or a bell pepper, something at least. But there is a way. I've been taught by a far more fall forward friend who just dropped this most simple knowledge. I mean, this is going to be, for those who know, like, doy, but you clean the pumpkin. That's the number one thing. And the number two thing is you don't put it out on the step. Like, you don't use it, you don't store it outside. You got to keep it where the temperature is going to stay relatively the same. That means inside the house. That fluctuation is one of the major things. The freeze thaw that we get up here in the north just kills those pumpkins if you keep them outside. And the washing, it's like water with the tiniest amount of bleach. Clean that hole outside, let it dry, and then it just keeps. Apparently that's as simple as it gets. I mean, the odd occasion might be where you got a weird one, a dud or something like that. But since this knowledge, I've now had the best pumpkins every Halloween for like 3 Halloweens straight, and I bought them all in September.
Wednesday.
Learning about an emerging trend, or possibly it's just some internet BS. It's hard to tell the difference some days, but apparently there's a trend of workplaces encouraging employees to take their shoes off at the door to make it a relaxed environment. Think like Canadian household, not American household, which is how we kind of treat work. Just keep them shoes on. But, I mean, I guess this could be an option. I would prefer, if slippers were the alternative. We all could have just like a Mr. Rogers moment. I think that makes sense to me. Every single morning, just sit down, slip into the slippers, get yourself a cup of coffee. Like, that sounds nice. No footwear at all, though, is not the best idea. Or watch athlete's foot become known as office foot so fast. Get away from the lunchroom with those things. Think we've got enough candidates on the ballot for the municipal election coming up? I think maybe we got a lot. And that's genuinely a good thing, despite the fact that it's going to be tough to parse through and figure out who to vote for if you're going to be casting that vote, and it's very important that you do. But on October 20th, it is municipal election day in town, and there's like some 70, I don't even have the exact number, but some 70 different candidates across the board. Now, some of the different options, like for some of the wards, there's only 2 or 3 candidates. For Ward 1, there's 20 or so. And for the school trustees, sometimes even more. It's a lot of numbers for sure. It means a lot of people care, but it also means it can be a little bit tough for all of us to figure it out. Feeling overwhelmed? With dozens and dozens of names on this year's ballot, it's like Tinder meets a phone book for the municipal election. That's why we've created Candidate Speed Dating, where you've got just 10 seconds to meet the perfect counselor, or at least remember their name. Hi, I'm Greg. I'm into fixing potholes, long walks through zoning bylaws, and I'll never ghost you on garbage collection day. Hey, I'm Susan. My hobbies include lowering taxes, raising your hopes, and building community gardens where your ex parks his car. Tony here. Free Wi-Fi everywhere. I'll pick up your recycling, and I promise a dog park on every corner. Swipe right, please. I'm very lonely. So many choices, so little time. Candidate Speed Dating, because finding true love is hard, but picking a school trustee is harder. And because it is so hard, we actually have a page now dedicated on our website to news stories for the Wood Buffalo municipal election. Wood Buffalo Votes 2025, available at cruiseradio.com.
Hey Alexa, play the Steve Reeve podcast.
Mariah Carey in the news. No, not because she's ready to do that whole Christmas thing. Probably see that come November, but it's because she's actually got this 90s grunge album that was never released that has gotten a lot of attention over the last few years. She revealed its existence in 2020 when she revealed her memoir, and since then people have gone, what? What is this? She worked with the band Chick. The album was called Someone's Ugly Daughter, and she does say that the album was created in the mid-90s. Some small samples have made their way online, but there is some movement. There is some thought that maybe the actual full album will see the light of day before too long. Maybe for like a Halloween kind of release. Very weird, but we're curious. Speaking of new albums, Ronnie Wood, he says that there's definitely more Rolling Stones on the way. At a public event, he was commenting about how there's something done and will be on the way next year. So, just have to look forward for album 25 in 2026. No word on any date or anything like that. But also a brand new release from Axl Rose called Appetite for Destruction. No, not the 1987 album, but a comic book that shares the name. It's actually alongside Sumerian Comics, where Axl Rose Appetite for Destruction is up for pre-order, expected to be released in January of next year. A full cyberpunk Axl saves the future of humanity story that I gotta say I gotta get my hands on. That's it for music news this morning. Rolling Stones, also somebody referenced on The Simpsons many times. Have the Rolling Stones killed? But sir, anyway, they're going to make a movie, another movie, a sequel to the Simpsons movie, about 20 years after the first one came out. Wait, what? That doesn't make any sense to my brain. But yeah, it has been a big screen hiatus of about 2 decades. And also about 30 years since the first movie should have been made, but they're finally getting around to it. This is a show that, of course, is never going to go away. It's actually been renewed well past 2027 when this movie is set to come out in July. But the show has been renewed into the 40th season, which will see it last into 2029. We're never going to be done with The Simpsons, and I don't think we should. But what about the sequel? Are you into it? People certainly were for the first movie. It was about a $75 million budget, made almost $550 million around the globe. Yeah, I feel like it was a no-brainer to make another one. Maybe could have used more brain to figure it out sooner, but hey, that's besides the point.
Thursday.
Sound the alarm. Canadians not allowed to buy tickets to Blue Jays games in the postseason? Well, yes, but also, no. The actual thing happening is that tickets are being restricted to local geography. It's in the article, past the headline, sure, but residents of 4 states, to be precise, are allowed to buy these tickets, meaning 46 states are also not allowed to buy those same tickets, like all of Canada. Fans are not. The idea is to thwart scalpers and to give local fans a chance to watch local teams play. There's some wisdom there. We're doing the same thing, actually, which is the most hilarious thing. Some people seem to be getting up in an uproar. People who don't really know that this is kind of a regular thing. We're also doing it. The Blue Jays are restricting postseason tickets at Rogers Centre to Canadian residents. In fact, it's kind of normal. It's a decision that the individual teams make and can make, and it's not an us versus them thing at all, because real life isn't like that. The us versus them is the game that we want to buy the tickets to. What's the best way to wake up? We're talking about it. There's an idea. Scent-based alarm clocks in development. Are scent-based alarm clocks even a good idea? I've heard of the bacon alarm clock. You know, that wakes you up with smell as well. But then you also get bacon. What could go wrong? What's the downside? Oh, the downside is that you have to pre-cook the bacon, and then you're kind of just letting meat sit in your room all night until it warms up again in the morning. If I have to pre-make bacon, I'll tell you right now, I'm going to pre-eat the bacon too. So I don't know if that is the best system for me. That's why I've never really invested in the bacon alarm clock technology. However, this is for any kind of smell, like a pick your own scent kind of system. And that just sounds like, for a home-based thing, worse than the printer, right? Trying to keep the printer ink topped up, trying to keep the different liquids in the different spritz containers. No thanks. However, what about at a hotel, right? That could work. They're going to be able to keep all those different things on hand. They're going to be able to refill, restock. And then you, as the person staying for the night, can choose your smell to wake up in the morning. See? That could work. I'm still not convinced that smell alone will work to wake me up, and certainly not convinced that it will wake my girlfriend up, because I think that might need the smelling salts option.
You're listening to the Steve Reeve Podcast from 100.5 Cruz FM.
Getting into the headlines, there is a group of a bunch of artists, musicians, actors, directors, and more, 550 plus, who are deciding to revive the Committee for the First Amendment down in the United States. This was a group originally formed in the late 1940s in the McCarthy era of the panic of communism and the suppression of political beliefs because of fears. And in the wake of, as well, things like Jimmy Kimmel and his temporary suspension from the airwaves on ABC after FCC, Federal Communications Commission, comments over jokes that he was making. Then basically really an effort to preserve free speech down in the United States. There is a lawsuit that's been on again, off again, on again, off again in terms of the Nirvana Nevermind album cover. Yes, the guy who was the child in the photo way back in the day has been in and out of courtrooms for his adult life. A lawsuit over the artwork was dismissed in 2022, overturned in 2023, then brought back to the fore, and now dismissed once again in 2025. Iron Maiden in the news because they almost said goodbye. They almost decided to retire the band. This was a conversation internally after the retirement of drummer Nico McMurray. Steve Harris said that they had a decision to make as to whether or not they wanted to carry on, and largely there was a huge want to just continue to stay on the path. It was back in 2023 when Nico McMurray, who had been with Iron Maiden since '82, suffered a stroke. And of course it was a very hard but important decision to make to step aside. It was his final show in December of 2024, leading into 2025 and a new opportunity for a makeover or a new album or a changing of the guards or something to do with Iron Maiden, but they have made the decision to continue. The coffee table, kind of a central thing. Almost every living room seems to have one. The internet now questioning, why do we have them? I think the reason is obvious. That's where my food goes while I watch TV. I need it. I have a pop-up one so that it can even raise up to like table height to make it even easier to eat while I'm watching TV. It is a very important fixture, in fact. But the internet has gotten into a fight over whether or not they are a waste of space and or money. I don't know why they're so expensive, for one. A waste of money, I think maybe we can talk about. But waste of space? I don't know. Pretty functional. Yeah, it might collect junk and dust and clutter and stuff, but then you know what you do is you tidy it every once in a while, and then that problem is pretty much gone. I don't understand. I mean, maybe it's just that people just don't feel like they have enough room to get stuff done.
And here's the thing, it'll give us so much extra space in our room to do activities. Please say yes.
But I'm not saying yes. I'm saying, and I'm probably taking the bait here because this probably only exists as rage farming to get some sort of engagement, but absolutely the coffee table is an essential item in the living room. Not necessarily every single household, every single living room, but I gotta say, it's enough of a fixture that we can agree it's not a waste of space. Right?
Friday.
I got a chance to be a part of a very small part of the play, the current production over at Keanu Theatre called The Cottage, which is a hilarious farce. It is somewhat mature themed, so they do have a recommendation of, kids 16 and older probably being the best, but your kid's best, so, up to you, your discretion. But a very, very fun play nonetheless, and hilariously performed by people in our community, the people that we work with, our friends, family members. That is what it is like over at Keanu Theatre for the community theater productions, which I think adds to it. Really, I get so much out of it. Hilarious people on stage for this one, and they have a special sort of surprise every single night with a character that has a different cameo performance, a different actor each time. I got to do it last night, treading the boards and having a lot of fun, big laughs throughout. And there are 2 more shows to go and check out. So first I say, thanks for having me, Keanu Theatre. And second I say, go grab some tickets to check out The Cottage tonight or tomorrow. Finn Wolfhard of Stranger Things fame, along with his father, are putting together a biopic about The Replacement, specifically adapting a biography called Trouble Boys, the true story of The Replacements. Early stages, no actual confirmation of a greenlit project or anything like that, but could be something cool to see. The Who have said farewell. Their final performance, their final song, they say farewell together. It's Goodbye. They say that it was every band's dream in the 60s to make it in America, and thanks to you guys, You Made It Happen for Us. It was the last stop on their North American farewell tour on Wednesday. Footage, of course, set list, all that available on the internet for the major fans. Stevie Nicks performing once again. She's going to kick off her North American tour with a surprise for fans. A song that she hasn't performed in 42 years, Fleetwood Mac's Angel. Really interesting. And that, again, also on October 1st. She was in Portland celebrating the occasion and making it one memorable for the fans, as well as, I always find it fascinating when artists haven't played a song for decades and then it comes back into the repertoire. So interesting. Stranger Things hype going to be inescapable, leading to the 5th and final season. It's going to start releasing in November and more in December. Final episode on New Year's Eve. November 6th apparently is Stranger Things Day, so expect a ton of rollout from that. But right now, there's actually a phone number, a hotline you can call for this fake 1987 Hawkins, Indiana fundraiser telethon to help out with all the crazy stuff going on down there. There's some weird things happening, and they want to help out. The coolest thing, though, is, and of course it's pre-recorded, you're not actually talking to the person, but they've got a bunch of different 80s icons that will answer the phone at the telephone for you and ask you your name, what's your message, all that stuff. Paula Abdul was one of them, and then this is what I got when I phoned in a little earlier this morning.
Hello. Thanks for calling into the 1987 Doritos Telethon for Hawkins. But enough out of me. Let me hand the phone to someone a little more famous.
Hey there, Earthling. It's me, Alf. You know, alien, furry, funny, wildly underpaid. I heard one of your Earth settlements is in trouble. So, of course, they called in the extraterrestrial. Thanks for chipping in today, and give us a call again anytime. You never know who's going to pick up around here. Hey! Ow! I am not food! Down!
The irony of that ending with how Alf used to eat the cats of the neighborhood, I don't know, feel like the tables maybe have turned, but pretty hilarious nonetheless. I haven't thought about Alf in a long time, not since he came back in Pog form.
Transmission over. Want more Steve? New podcast episodes happen every Friday, or just tune into the Steve Reeve Show. Weekday mornings starting at 5:30 a.m. on 100.5 Cruz FM.